Alright guys, so today I'm back with another video. Today I'm here with the Fiero. We got an issue we're going to fix regarding the headlights. So without further ado, let's get into it. There's a little sneak peek at the next video coming up at some point with the Mark II, but I'll save that for later. Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to get your Fiero headlights to go from this to this. Alright, so I'll show you guys a little bit about what's going on here. Oh, it's making that noise, hear that? That headlight motor was making some noise, and I'll show you why it was doing that. Just like that. There's some Delrin cylinders inside of these headlight motors that always go bad. I already rebuilt this one a year ago. This one here, over here, I didn't touch, and I should have rebuilt it at the same time as this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to pop the front so we can have access to our headlight assemblies. Headlight assemblies here, and then over there. So as a rule of thumb, at least on the Fiero, I don't know about other vehicles, probably other GM vehicles of this same era, the headlight motors and the whole entire mechanical system is live at all times. So the only way to disconnect it is to disconnect your battery. Although disconnecting your battery from your car, I would recommend it. When I did that one, I actually did not disconnect the battery. I was just making sure I was careful that the positive side did not touch ground. I believe I wrapped it up with electrical tape if I'm not mistaken, but that's just something to be aware of. All right, so here I got the kit that I bought about a little over a year ago. I just still have some old pieces in here from that headlight motor, such as this gear right here and this gasket. I actually bought this kit from Rodney Dickman. He's a really well-known supplier for parts for Fieros, whether it be recreations of different parts, such as like gears from the headlight motor and things like that. Unfortunately, he's going out of business. He's selling his business, so that's where I bought this from. But I believe he still has more headlight rebuild kits in stock. He's selling out his inventory and he's not making any more stuff. So I'll make sure to have a link to his website in my description. Because without him, I wouldn't have been able to find a quality rebuild kit for this car for the headlight motors. So big shout out to Rodney Dickman. You're the OG at Fiero parts. All right, so the first thing you want to do is remove your connector on your actual headlight itself. Oh, and also you want to make sure to do this in the up position as well. And to do that, I just manually raised it. So you just manually raise and lower by this knob, which you have saw in my last video. And you also want to disconnect your connector for your motor. Right here. Fell down there, but there you have it. Next thing after that, you want to remove these bolts. I believe these nuts, I believe they're 10 millimeter. There's 1, 2, and there's 2 on the bottom. 1, 2. So you want to remove all four nuts. And then remove the headlight assembly. Alright, so first things first, you want to remove this 10 millimeter nut right here. Once you got that nut removed, you want to flip your headlight assembly over. Then you want to remove 1, 2, 3 10 millimeters that hold your motor and gearbox on. All right, now with those 3 bolts removed, as you can see there, now you should just be able to go ahead and get this thing off of here. Hold on 1 second while I pull that shaft off. There we we go. Came right off. All right, so next thing you want to do after you get your motor and gearbox off, you want to remove these. I believe they're either 7 mil or 6 millimeter, 8 millimeter bolts. I believe they're probably 7s. I'll get these 3 off, and this cover should come off. All right, I'm going to do a little filler here. These bolts are actually 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch socket, get those 1/4 inch bolts off, and then your cover should come off. All right, so once you get your bolts out, this cover should just come off. Hold on a second, I use 2 hands. All right, with your cover removed, you can go ahead and remove your gasket. Next, you should be able to remove your gear here. Sometimes you can remove the whole thing, sometimes you can't. So I'm just gonna have to remove just the gear itself. So we're gonna have to use a couple of screwdrivers and pop it out. All right, so to pop this guy out, you gotta stick your screwdrivers in the side. So one over here, or one over here, just on opposite sides. And then with both hands, you gotta go, and you gotta pop it out. So now I think I got it loose enough. Oh my. All right, so you'll see, this is why they fail. So all this stuff right here, they're supposed to be cylinders, and they disintegrated. There's absolutely nothing left of those Delrin cylinders in here. And I'll compare you with this versus what it's supposed to look like. All right, so these are not supposed to look like that. They're supposed to look like this. And they sit in there just like that. There's 3 of them. And what they do is, what these are supposed to be for is if something gets caught in the motor, these are supposed to break before it crushes something, so like your arm or something. Otherwise, these motors actually make quite a bit of torque. So yeah, these are meant to be, to my knowledge, are meant to be a little bit on like safety. And it also helps make the opening and closing of the headlights a lot smoother. All right, so the grease I'm going to be using is just going to be this Valvoline synthetic grease. You can use Vaseline. Vaseline works really good. I believe I used Vaseline in the last one. This one, I don't have any Vaseline, so I'm just going to use just what I got, just some synthetic grease. Used for CV axles and stuff, that should be just fine. Or really, mostly any type of grease will work just fine. These things aren't too picky, so just as long as it's got lubrication, it'll last a long time. All right, so with your 3 cylinders in place on your gear with some grease, next you want to put your shaft back through just like that. All right, so after you get some grease put on your gear, you just want to try setting her down in there. Oh, I'm missing one thing though. You don't want to forget your spacers. In this case, I got 3 spacers right here. These 3 spacers will just go down just like that at the bottom. And then my shaft will then sit on top of those. With a little finesse, it should just go down in there. All right, so after you get your gear and shaft and cylinders back on, next you want to put your gasket back on here. In this case, it only goes on one way, just like that. Once your gasket's on there, you can go ahead and throw your top cover on. Make sure you lubricate your bearing on this side, as well as your spacers, because there will be some pressure put on this shaft here. So make sure to put a little grease on those. All right, next you want to make sure you tighten these. I already got these tightened, but just nice and snug, not too tight. It's aluminum. You can strip the threads. It does not take much torque to tighten these bolts. So after that, now you want to reinstall your motor and gearbox onto your headlight frame. So let's get right to it. All right, so get your 3 bolts put back in here. You want to put you kind of want to do it all at once. You want to put this on, stick your shaft through this little tab here, and then put your nut on, and then finish tightening down your bolts. So there's like 2 different things you got to do to put it back together. That's the easiest way I've found, but otherwise it's the same thing as reverse. Make sure to take your pictures of your positions, of your brackets. Like now, my headlight's in the down position, so you can use this as a reference if you want. But there you go. You can take a screenshot, do whatever. Headlight's in the down position at this point. All right, so we're ready to put our headlight back on. At this point, it's a lot easier to leave your 2 bottom bolts on. Only reason being is that the frame is slotted. So the frame is slotted, so that helps quite a bit. All right, after you get your bolts started, you want to make sure to raise up your headlight manually all the way, so that way you can get your hand underneath there. And we'll tighten up your bolts, all 4 bolts, and then replug, and then plug back in your electrical connections. All right, with your headlight reinstalled, you're gonna want to manually lower this back down. Make sure you have your electrical connections plugged in, 1, 2. Make sure that your electrical connections are not anywhere where they will get pinched by the headlight. Because the last thing you want to do is get in here and fix some wiring for some mistake that you did. So with that all the way down, let's go ahead and test them out. We're ready for the moment of truth here. Did we do a good job? Oh, perfect. Look at that. Will they go back down? Yes, they will. Will they go back up? Sweet. All right, guys, I'm going to end this video with the Fiero. I now have 2 working headlights. So now I can drive when there's no sunlight, obviously. So there we have it. So without further ado, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.